And something that really tipped me over the edge was there was a bunch of floods up there a couple of years ago, about 3 or 4 years ago now. And it kind of got to the point where, well, in reality, my mum lost all of her belongings, whole house flooded out, up to the ceiling height. And so I was just like, there were so many people homeless all of a sudden overnight. And I was just like, there has to be a really quick flat pack solution that can go bang, 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 bang. But like, what if there was something that could be really quick and efficient, but also beautiful and actually become a permanent structure?
Dodgy advice and bad decisions can cost you big in real estate. We're here to make sure that that doesn't happen. Welcome to the No BS Real Estate Podcast. I'm your host, Jo Agresta, and it's time to take control of your property journey together. Welcome back, everyone, to the No BS Real Estate Podcast, your listening how-to guide to the Australian residential and finance market. And I'm your host, Jo. And on today's show, I'm so pumped up to have him here. I've got Matt Decarne from Elsewhere Pods with us. Matt, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. Really excited to be part of it.
Yeah, I've been keen to do this, right? Because ever since we met, I'm like, oh my God, I love Elsewhere Pods. I've been dreaming of pods. And you know what? I'm talking a lot about it, but I'm going to let you explain exactly what you do, because I think it's a really cool space. It's different, right?
Yeah.
And to kick things off, I wanted to, bring it up and say, what got you here? So tell us about Elsewhere Pods. What are we looking at?
Yeah. Okay. So, basically, Elsewhere Pods is kind of a modular system for tiny homes, outdoor structures. Essentially, it's a flat pack building solution, kind of like really luxury, beautiful Lego pieces. And it's kind of designed around being a really close connection to the natural environment. So we're trying to put nature on show. We're trying to make a really seamless connection, but also maintain like luxury finishes, a lot of comfort, and really designed to be an aspirational experience for the occupants.
Yeah, of course.
We're just kind of doing things a little bit differently, obviously very aesthetically striking designs.
I actually really love the product. So for those who are listening, right, Elsewhere Pods, you guys did an actual capital raise, right? So you did the crowdfund, and that's how we got to know each other. And when I saw your product and your advertisement, I thought, oh no, I need a pod. This is the problem.
This is going to be an expensive...
It's going to be an expensive partnership, but no. And what I like about, what I've really loved about it is the way the design is. So to try and build you guys a picture, right, for those listeners out there, you got to imagine that we're actually sitting in a pod. We're doing a pod from the pod today.
Yeah, how cool is that?
So cool. And it's a glass structure. Yeah. It's got really high finishes and high-end design. And you'll see some videos that we're recording as well that will, definitely give you a better visual. But you've got to imagine like an all-glass structure.
Yeah. So basically it's designed around a structural aluminium frame. And it's designed to be either a temporary or permanent structure. So we're National Construction Code compliant building system. We can go crazy with these customizations. Yeah. So because every panel is swappable, we can have as much glass as you want, 3 walls as glass. And then we can go mix and match bifold windows over decks, pergolas, double-story structures. You can kind of go crazy. You can build a 4-bedroom home with our system. Wow. Or, obviously we're set up and originally designed to be these beautiful little tiny home structures.
Yep.
But yeah, it's all about the beauty and simplicity and putting nature on show.
I think that the way you've said it, putting nature on show, that's exactly what it does, because the glass around it, I like the fact that you can put blinds and things like that for privacy, of course. But I like the fact that it's all glass, because when you see, if you guys jump onto their Instagram and you see some of their videos that they've done of the pods in action, they look so impressive. So pretty.
We find that some people will be like, I want to create a bit more privacy and that kind of thing. And it's just a conversation, because it's so customizable. We can switch it and make it exactly, fit that use case, functionality versus privacy versus capturing those views. But really, a really powerful tool that we've kind of developed to help the customer through that journey is the online configurator.
Oh,
and so you can now jump on and like it's like playing on The Sims, you know, like so. So you get to design your little house, and you kind of visualizing, okay, my views are this way. I want all glass there.
That is the best analogy because for those that don't know, I love to video game. I don't have time for it anymore, but Sims was a big part of my life and it still is. But that's really fun because even I played with your online configurator, and like just to paint a picture, right? You jump on and all of a sudden it is very similar to The Sims in the way that you have a structure and you start building it. And it's like, oh, do you want to have these windows or those windows? And I'm like, oh, those ones. No, those ones.
I think like, I don't know, us being millennials, it's like we grew up with these games, we grew up with Lego. So we've kind of designed like this beautiful luxury Lego set.
Correct.
It's Lego, it's The Sims, it's all those cool things that we grew up with.
It's gamified.
Exactly.
And it's a little bit addictive. Like I ended up designing, I think, 4 friggin' pods. And then my partner jumped on and she did the same thing. And we're all like, oh, pod. So what I want to go back to, take me a step back because I love the product and I want to unpack it a little bit more. But your journey started, you know, with a corporate career. You then pivoted towards something a bit more meaningful with Elsewhere Pods, of course. So, you know, tell us how you got here. What's your background?
Yeah, look, so I was a consultant specialising in international trade law and economics projects.
Wow, different.
Yeah, a little bit different to what we're doing here today. But look, I, you know, definitely wanted to do something with a little bit more impact. And, you know, I grew up in Byron Bay, so the pull of ecotourism as an industry always had a lot of interest to me.
Yeah.
And it was something that I kind of felt maybe I would come back to one day. Good excuse to get back up to Byron, I think.
Gotta bring it back.
Yeah. And then something that really tipped me over the edge was there was a bunch of floods up there a couple of years ago, about 3 or 4 years ago now. And it kind of got to the point where, well, in reality, my mum lost all of her belongings, whole house flooded out, you know, up to the ceiling height. And so I was just like, there were so many people homeless all of a sudden overnight. And I was just like, there has to be a really quick flat pack solution that can go bang, 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 bang. And I did some research. There just really wasn't anything that was better than kind of those sheds and site huts that are kind of for mining camps and this kind of thing. And I just felt like, okay, well, they're pretty quick to roll out, but like, what if there was something that could be really quick and efficient, but also beautiful and actually become a permanent structure? And so you're creating an additional dwelling that's sustainable, it's efficient, it's cost effective, but it actually gives a bit of wow factor.
Yeah.
And so it's like a pressure valve release on housing, you know, because it is an affordable system, but also it's like an amazing experience for guests.
That's so cool. I like that story. Like, I'm sorry what happened to your mum, but
yeah,
I think it's you've done it justice. Jeez, like I don't want someone else to go through this situation because it is something that happens a lot. And like you said, in Byron or Queensland area, it's unfortunately a very common event.
Yeah, look, I mean, housing affordability up there is, I mean, nationally and internationally as well. Housing affordability up there is like ultra crisis level, and it has been for like 10 years, given the, you know, the high level of tourism, you know, a lot of celebrity moving into the township. A lot of people I grew up with in Byron, they couldn't possibly afford to live in Byron anymore. So, yeah, I guess like wanting to provide a little bit of a solution around this and create additional dwellings. It's definitely, you know, the product really lends itself to that ecotourism. And people go, well, doesn't Airbnb make housing affordability worse by taking supply out of the housing market? But what we're doing in my mindset on this is, if you're increasing the supply of like affordable housing, even if it's satisfying the ecotourism market, then that's just a higher number of houses. And so the traditional home is now available to rent long term as opposed to Airbnb. Yeah,
Airbnb. That was actually one of the questions that I was going to ask, because a lot of the time we do, you know, people do think that, especially Airbnb, it's impacting, right? Yeah. Which you can't excuse, like, you know, it has its impact.
Yeah.
But what you're doing to basically solve that problem is you're putting more properties available on market, right? Whether it's
exactly,
Airbnb or not.
Exactly. And I think like in my mind, if I'm going to go on holiday somewhere, I want to stay, and feel like I'm part of that environment. I want to be connected to it. I want to stay in a structure, a home that's designed for that use case, designed for ecotourism. I don't want to go to Byron Bay and stay in a 4-bedroom home, like a brick veneer kind of thing, right?
No, not really home away from home.
It's not the vibe, right?
No, definitely not. And I think once, our listeners see your structure and the pod itself, they'll understand what we mean by brick and mortar is just not going to cut it.
It's a little different, yeah.
That's right. And, what's your main mission behind Elsewhere Pods? Like, how do you envision your company impacting this ecotourism industry?
Yeah, look, kind of the reason that we wanted to target this market was that there was kind of ecotourism really meant like camping or maybe glamping, even in kind of the middle market. A few little cabin stays here and there scattered around, but there wasn't really anything that was kind of a high-end experience that's also ecotourism. So you've got like these luxury resorts, and then you've got glamping, and then like what is between that? There's no real scalable product to kind of serve that market.
Yeah, makes sense.
So I was like, okay, well, I want to have an impact in that. I want to get people, give them an opportunity to get back out to nature, but make it really comfortable so that it's more likely to go mainstream.
Yeah.
So it's very Instagrammable, but it's also a genuine and authentic connection.
Yeah.
So
awesome.
Yeah, so there was a bit of a gap there, and this is kind of our brand position. We think that we're the best product out there for that particular niche. Yeah. But then just by building the company, building the system, building out the logistics and the manufacturing, we've also become an affordable housing solution as well. Yeah, and so it's kind of like this, two-speed, really interesting dynamic where not only are we a luxury and aspirational product, but we're also quite affordable, and we compete with those shed house conversions, traditional backyard renovations. Yeah. We're much cheaper than those, even though we're a really high quality system.
And this is like kind of leading into what your product is, and I want to get into the nuts and bolts of it because working in real estate, right? We're always looking for the next opportunity of what type of structure is available, what's popular, what's going to be really cost effective for our customers. Because at the moment, like, we're in an economic position where our jobs aren't keeping up with, the prices of our wages aren't keeping up with the cost of living, right? And then you've got property and interest rates all impacting all the things at the same time. So it's like, well, as a first-time buyer, a lot of the customers I talk to are really stressed about, well, how am I ever going to break into the market with something, whether it's a pod that I do an Airbnb with and do a rent fest.
Yeah.
And these are the kind of solutions that I feel are really cool for those, that first-time buyer, or even if it's an established home, you've got a few markets under your belt, in the real estate space.
It's a really nasty cocktail out there at the moment of like all these different economic factors happening. So I think it's a really interesting piece where we're able to provide other options for buyers. So, for example, if you're, deciding that, you want to do your first home as an investment, which a lot of people are doing and still living at home. Yeah. Okay, how do we create an additional rental income? Okay, so we can put a granny flat out the back. That becomes a rental. It's more affordable housing options. Tick, tick, tick. It helps offset your mortgage. You can even potentially have it positively geared from day one. Yeah. It's a project that rolls out really quickly, 10 weeks from order to finished installation. And, just providing all these other opportunities, for the customer.
And I think one of the questions, like, this is now where I want to get into this, properly. I need a use case scenario, right?
Okay.
So give me your best shot. So
hit me.
We've got a typical customer. So if I'm a customer and let's say I am one of those people who I have a little bit of savings, let's say I've saved up about, call it the average, about 80K. I've saved up 80K. I'm looking at options to buy a first investment. Now, I don't know whether I want to buy a house and get a deposit for something really cheap, and I don't know what I've come across, but I've just seen pods are available. How does that process work? If I've got 80K, is there a loan system? How do you actually go about purchasing?
Yeah, look, so if you've got a property already, and it's kind of a blank canvas to do whatever you like, basically our customer would come to us with that property. They'd say, here it is. We do a little design meeting together. So this is our opportunity to really understand what you're using the pod for. And this helps us kind of direct you to the most efficient system, managing for your budget, making sure that we design something that maximizes for the use case, whether it's the beautiful views, whether it's more privacy and functionality because you're going to live in it. We kind of work together on that. So you sit with our architectural designer for about half an hour on an online design meeting. And by the end of that meeting, you've got a floor plan, you've got renders, so you can visualize it. And then we shoot you out a quote and we go through that with you. So within 48 hours, you know exactly what you're looking at, and you can start to really think about, okay, well, am I going to go to the bank and get finance? Am I going to, just go up front and place a deposit? Once we do decide to kick it off, then it's basically a holding deposit that locks in your price. Then once we've refined everything down, we've got any permits that we need, we go straight into a production deposit. And from that date, it's usually 10 to 12 weeks, depending on the complexity of the design, before we're on site installing it and handing the keys over.
That's unreal. Like that's especially the 48 hours. Like I feel like when you think about the standard building industry, right? Like if me and my partner, we built, and when we built our property, it was the consultation. It was like 6 meetings before we actually got to do anything. And we obviously went through a display home, but do you have something similar? Where do you kind of, go off a pod in action apart from obviously where we're sitting right now?
Yeah, exactly. The beautiful thing is that our customers all become advocates, right? So we don't necessarily need to run all these display sites around the country. This would be kind of expensive to do so. Take a lot of working capital, as you would know, that's very important in startups. So the beautiful thing is we create such a good customer journey, and the product is so unique and beautiful that our customers, they want to show it off.
Yeah, of course.
I don't know if you've ever spoken to anyone who owns a Tesla, but they can't stop talking about Teslas.
Shout out to my neighbour.
Yeah, exactly, right? Annoyingly so. And our customers are kind of like that. So they're inviting their friends over, they're, taking the photography, they're sharing.
So my next question for you is sustainability, right? Being that that's, at the core at the moment, a lot of people are looking for sustainable housing. Can you share more about, the materials you use, especially in terms of like energy efficiency and durability?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so the structure itself is a structural aluminium, so it's super strong and super lightweight. That's a material that's not really used in the building industry much because of its cost. It's quite expensive. But because we're such an efficient building system, repeatability of the materials, we're able to roll it down in a really efficient way. So, aluminium doesn't rust. It's like I say, it's lightweight, very versatile, and it's kind of beautiful as well.
Oh, very beautiful.
And then the glass panels are all as standard double glazed. They have a low E treatment film. They're 8 millimeters thick, which is obviously thicker than standard. They've got a 15 mil argon cavity. They're a thermally broken frame as well. So this, this means there's no thermal bridge. And I guess it's designed as standard to be super high energy efficiency. We can do 6-star energy rating as a standard pod, and then we've got some upgrades and also design changes that we can do, adding a bit more insulation and thermal performance, and we can get it up to 7-star.
Wow!
So. It's an interesting system. It's very different to kind of traditional way of doing building.
Yeah.
But I think the time is right to do things a bit differently. Then, in terms of the sustainability, it's all produced from 99.9% recyclable materials. Wow. So, we think it's a really long kind of lifespan of the product.
Yeah, 100%.
It should outlast a home. A traditional home has maybe kind of up to about 10,000 to 100,000 different pieces and parts and components. All your screws, all your joins, all that kind of stuff. And we have less than 1% of the parts and components for a like-for-like size.
Wow.
So this is less than 1% of the materials that could break down. And because it is fully modular and kind of panelized, if one part does break or break down or damage, you can just replace that one component, not renovate the whole house.
See, that's a very interesting part. So that's a massive impact. Like a very different way of, obviously, property, when you've got something that goes wrong. When pulling things apart, it affects other parts of the house as well. But
yeah, absolutely.
I think I had two questions come at the same time. Now I'm trying to decide which one's
okay. Far away.
All right. So off the grid, because I feel like where I'm picturing these pods probably do well is, if you had like a remote place where you wanted to have, whether it's for, your holiday rental type of thing, or even if it's your own holiday home that's being rented out as an Airbnb. If I had like a farm or somewhere further out, but obviously I haven't got all the standard water tanks and all that kind of, thing to make it sustainable. Like how do you offer those options and how does it work if you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So, as stock standard, including the price, you get plug and play connections that are ready for whatever utilities you have on site. Then, for those really rural properties where you don't have connections, we can specify off-grid packages. So we work with really awesome third-party partners to do our solar panels and inverters and batteries that plug into our system. And then we've got things like your eco-friendly compost toilets, grey water management, water collection off the roof line. We can provide a fully off-grid pod. But again, because of this modularity and optionality that we're able to create, you only, you pick and choose what you want and what you need. So if you need power and water off-grid, but waste and electricity or anything else on the grid, like you can mix and match to suit your case.
So it's totally, I love the customizable or like the personalization factor because, part of the fun, like you said, is playing the Sims. You get to put everything in that you want, the colors, you pick the whole lot. I love that that you can do that within like the 48-hour consultation, that from the minute that you have that conversation with you guys, 48 hours later, you're looking at this exact tool. And on top of that, you can mix and match like what's not sustainable, but like what is off the grid, on the grid, stuff like that. And it begs the question for me is, how does internet go? Is that just you do your data plan and that's up to you?
Yeah, look, it can really kind of integrate with whatever you have. I think the SpaceX diff now, like they're super affordable. So you can be out in a really rural space, bang, plug that into the back of the pod, and you're and Elon Musk has got you covered. So look, we could just connect it up to whatever you have on site.
No, that's cool. I really like that. And I think, I'm coming to this point where I think the best part for me is that, you've got a very unique offering, right? So I want to talk about, access to options. So you've introduced a leasing model.
Yes.
Right? So it's like cars. In a sense, so which is very unique for this space. You don't often hear about leasing in property or investment. So can you tell us like how that works and why you decided to offer it?
Yeah, well, we kind of had a bit of second mover advantage coming into the marketplace, and I was kind of identifying like what are the real bottlenecks and problems and things that stop people getting into affordable housing. And so, one thing that we identified was that the existing, nice products on the market, you couldn't really get finance for. It was very difficult to get finance on a tiny home. And even if you did, like the amount of the deposit they ask for up front is like, who's got 50, 60 grand lying around for a project that's kind of not, your first home or whatever, if it's like a secondary dwelling. So I thought about, okay, how do we make finance easy and how do we make it really affordable and simple? So we partnered with a finance company, so we kind of got that moving. They specialize in tiny homes, and we've had a lot of success of getting financing on tiny homes. And then in addition to that, and whilst we were working towards that, I thought, okay, well, what about if Elsewhere Pods actually does the financing? And we basically offer a low deposit to our customer They make monthly repayments to us, a little bit like a car lease, as you mentioned. And then at the end of that lease term, the customer has the option to make a small balloon payment to buy it out and own the product outright. Yep. They can just choose to keep leasing it if that makes more sense for them. Obviously very tax effective if you're running it as an Airbnb business. You can deduct those expenses. Or, if your situations have changed or you want to do the long-term project or something like that, then you can just decommission it. We'll come pick it up and take it away.
Wow.
Yeah.
There you go.
That last one works really well for the customer who's like, okay, I've just bought a property. I'm going to build the dream home one day. Yep. But in the meantime, I want it to actually earn me an income.
Yep.
So let's do a pod on there short term. Let's lease it.
And get some income in.
And then when they're ready, and they've made a bit of profit out of it, they're ready to go on the big long-term project.
Yeah.
Okay, we decommission.
That's awesome. So, and I think one of the things I'm wondering about is I like the idea that you can decommission, it goes back. Yeah. It's like nothing happened.
Yeah, and the we do really eco-friendly screw piles as well. So this means that you don't need a big slab or concrete or anything like that. We basically come in the day before the pod installation, screw in these eco-friendly screw piles, build the pod on top of that, and basically if and when you decide that you want to move on or do the next project, we unscrew it, we were never there. No impact, zero impact on the environment.
Well, this is the other thing, right? A lot of these granny flats, like you said, the traditional housing options, they all come with a lot of red tape. If anyone out there listening has ever tried to put a granny flat at the back of their house, you know that it's a big process and it's a costly one because you end up having to pay to find out whether you can actually get city council approval.
Exactly. Yeah.
If you don't, you have to keep tweaking it, architecting it, and it's a longer process. With you guys, how does that work? Like, how do you avoid red tape when it comes to the pods?
Yeah, so each state is different. But in Victoria, for example, and there's a few states going this way, they've now eliminated the need for planning permits for secondary dwellings, so granny flats, right?
Right.
This is massive for us. The other benefit that we have in that space is because we're flat packed, we don't need to finish building the home and then crane it over the top of your house. We can get access down the side. It's
flat packed.
Exactly. So we can just carry the materials through. We don't require any heavy machinery at all to install the pods. Oh, wow. So it's just 4 guys, 4 days, for example, to build a small home.
Oh my God.
And this makes it really versatile. So it works really well for backyards where access is quite limited. Yeah. And it works really well for those rural jobs where, you've got little dirt paths and, it's up a hill, up a mountain or, really tricky to access. Basically, our system is such that if you can get some large furniture in there, you can get a whole home.
I really like that. That's cool. So it means that if I wanted to go through this journey and let's say I'm under a certain limit, right? Like as in, I think what's the granny flat limit that you have to get approval for? Is it 10 square?
Oh, I think for the granny flat laws under 60 square, so you can actually get quite big. But to avoid any permits at all or any council sign off, you can keep it under 10 square meters in most states. Some states are 20 square meters. Yeah. But yeah, basically when we work with a customer, we provide them with some kind of initial advice about our knowledge of that area, that region. And then we'll direct them to maybe some council resources to assist. But, I think, things like the abodey platform where you're providing customers with property insights, I think this is a really interesting play as well because you'll certainly be like unlocking that information and helping customers to make better decisions.
That's 100%. And look, part of like what we're doing for everyone listening is Matt and I are partnering up with Elsewhere Pods and Abodey, and we are so thrilled because I just think that for our market, right, everyone's looking for a unique opportunity to invest in, okay? And it's about that affordability piece. I can't say more good, stuff about your product because it's awesome. The way, in my summary, it's sustainable, it's eco-friendly. It's a foot in the door for a lot of property investment. Whether you're someone who loves to travel and want to move around a lot, you've got a pod system that you can actually have that. I think you have some of them that are on wheels as well.
That's right. And that avoids any council permits at all. So it's technically classed as a caravan when it's on a trailer.
Oh,
So some councils have rules around what you can and can't do with caravans, but
of course.
it's just to basically save you potentially 9 months of planning permits, 2 or 3 months of building permits. Basically we can put it straight into production and deliver it in 10 to 12 weeks.
So that I think is a really cool idea. So it's like you're really versatile for different types of people.
Absolutely.
Who
Have to be, right?
Who's your biggest customer like at the moment? Like what cohort? So for people listening out there who are thinking, oh, I wonder if Elsewhere Pods is for me. I wonder if this is something I should do.
Yeah.
Who's the target, that you usually get?
Look, it is a really versatile building system, so we can do almost anything, but our primary customer at the moment is kind of the customer with a beautiful regional or tourism area property. They are looking for an income, looking to create an experience that's unique, and so kind of that ecotourism market. Because it's beautiful and it's cost effective, we're really popular in that space. So that probably forms, just under half of our market. We've got people living in these tiny homes, so downsizers, people who are looking to simplify and maybe reconnect with nature. So I think that there's a desire for the older generation to kind of disconnect from the hustle and bustle of the city.
Yeah, 100%.
The tree change, and then we've got really fast growing granny flat and kind of pool houses, backyard studios and offices. Working from home is obviously very popular, and you don't want to be sitting at your kitchen table with kids screaming at you.
No thanks.
But we've all been on that Zoom call before.
It's usually my dog that's the culprit.
Oh, right, yeah.
There'll be a leaf in the backyard that's attacked. And she has to bark for 20 minutes.
So fair. Fair.
So I need a pod to sit in so she can watch me from the outside in the backyard.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's that double glazing does a lot of heavy lifting for soundproofing, and then we also have a lot of commercial use cases. So moving into events as well. And so this is like really short-term leases on products, and we've got some commercial showrooms as well for various businesses floating around too.
No, that's awesome. And I think one of the things I was, looking at with the pod as well is like I'm coming up to the end of time. I'm going to talk to you forever, mate. We're going to get off this pod, and then I'm going to talk to you about pods.
Yes, gotcha.
I wanted to ask, what is next for Elsewhere Pods? I know you have a project coming up with Airbnb. Is that right?
Yeah. That's really exciting.
Because I feel like that is, for startup, it's such a cool journey when you're in a startup and then you start getting these bigger players where you have a project coming in with, Airbnb is huge. So congratulations. What's coming up?
Thank you so much. So we won a global Airbnb design competition called the Oh My God Fund.
Oh my, that's awesome.
Yeah, and it was actually not that long after our commercial launch. It was kind of like one of the first things that happened with us, the first big milestone. And so basically global design competition, it was this beautiful double-story cantilevered glass structure called the Kangaroo, and they gave us a good sized grant to start working on that project. So we're now partnered with them in rolling it out, and it's going to be built in Daylesford, Victoria. So spa country. It's going to be quite a cool experience, and it's actually being built on a kangaroo habitat, and the concept is around like this reverse zoo. So
you're inside the box instead of them.
Exactly. You're viewing nature and you're in the environment.
That's actually so cool.
Yeah.
That is so cool. So you're in the kangaroo area. And obviously your pod is all glass.
Exactly.
You're in wildlife.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like just off this creek called Kangaroo Creek.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful little spot. And so that we're thinking that will probably just been had planning approved, so we think we'll probably roll that out the back end of the first quarter of 2025. So keep an eye out for that one.
I'll be visiting.
Absolutely.
I'm like, when are we launching this?
Yeah, we've got to do our offsites there. Right?
Correct. Yeah, no, all our offsites.
The second pod can be there.
Yeah, the second pod and the pod will be there.
Yeah.
100%. No, that's really good. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
I reckon that's a massive milestone to achieve, especially in early startup days. And what a cool thing to have under your belt.
Yeah.
And I think, before I wrap up, I hear you're offering something like a special discount or something for listeners today, or what can you tell us about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So any of the podcast listeners or abodey clients will get $1,000 discount.
Dang.
Off any pod. So basically, let us know. Reach out.
100%.
When you get in contact with our team, tell them that Jo and Abodey and the No BS podcast sent you.
That's awesome. Thank you, Matt. And that's a good perk. Does that apply to me?
Yeah, absolutely.
No, that's so good. Thank you so much. That's so generous. Guys, I've really loved filming this podcast with you, Matt. I think there's so many ways and places I want to get into this. I think you've built a really nice, attractive product. I love that it's tackling the affordability and the problem with, not enough properties on market. That's a big gripe for me, where I'm trying to get people into property.
Yeah.
If this is an option that exists. And to talk, about our partnership, which I kind of digressed on. I do that a lot in this podcast.
Yeah, that's good though.
What Matt and I are trying to plan out together is obviously Abodey kicks off this week with its mobile app, so to match people with properties and professionals. And part of what we want to introduce is Matt with his Elsewhere pods and his team, because if we have that as an option to purchase that top property type, I think it's just so unique.
Yeah.
And it's different. You can't often find much on market available the way you've built this product.
It's really, we were talking about this before, it's a really great partnership with you've got all this wonderful data and these AI empowered systems that help, the buyer be really informed and understand what they're getting into and cut out a lot of the grunt work to getting that perfect property. And then we've got the product. So I feel that this is going to be a really powerful collaboration. It's really exciting. On the next podcast, we could be talking about some of the wins and the projects that we're working on together. I'm really looking forward to where this is going to take us.
100%. No, and thank you for saying all that, Matt, because I'm very excited for this collab. I think you've put it well, our AI insights and connecting you to pods and the professionals that sit behind it. I can't imagine being able to say, I actually walked through the door with Elsewhere and in 10 to 15 weeks, I'm done. I actually have a pod, it's working and it's in the house. That, or, it's outside. That's so cool. Thank you so much for all your time and for the discount to our listeners. So to wrap up, guys, it's so inspiring. Thank you again, Matt. If you want to take benefit of the discount, please head to our website. We'll have something up there. And when you want to engage with Elsewhere Pods, come through the Abodey website or go directly to Elsewhere Pods. Say that Abodey sent you so you can get your discount. Matt, thank you so much once again. I can't wait to do Pod in the Pod again.
Absolutely. Bring it on.
Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. You can find more information on abodey.com.au, and we will see you next time. That's a wrap for this episode of the No BS Real Estate Podcast, powered by Abodey AI. If you found this conversation helpful, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with someone who might need it. If you're looking for more guidance on your home buying journey, you can visit www.abodey.com.au for expert advice, property insights, and the tools you need to find the right home with confidence. If you're already on your journey, you can also download our app. Just search Abodey AI on the App Store or Google Play. Have any questions or want to connect, you can follow us on Instagram at abodey.com.au or send us a message. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you in the next episode.